normally what I would do at this point is tell you a little bit about the company our founder founded, but the problem with Prem is that he has founded a gazillion companies, not just one. So Prem, maybe, for fear of like taking half of our time here, maybe you can just walk us through the different companies you've built and how they came to be.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming here, and nice meeting all of you. And I think this is a great class. You will learn a lot and learn from different experience people have. And just think about this, because everybody is going to tell you something which is very unique and different. So let me tell you my journey starting, and I'll try to summarize it. So my first company I started when none of you were born. Okay. It was in 1983.
I was born.
I have meant to say all the students. Okay. And it was, the promise was, this was a transition. So that's important. Remember this word, transition, was going on from analog to digital in terms of for the voice capabilities. So we got the best funding from a venture capitalist, Sequoia Capital. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard that name, and if you haven't, go Google it. You will find out more about them. Top VC companies funded it. The company built a very good product, but it failed. And you can think about it, when it failed, you say, what the heck I want to do next? That was not the case in this particular case. The reason it failed, just a quick thing to learn from this, you need to understand not just the technology part. We were all technologists, didn't understand the business. So we basically built a product which was great if the environment can solve that particular problem, which is voice video data. The name of the company was David Systems. And David stands for Distributed Architecture for Video, Image, and Data. No, it's not even somebody's name, actually. So that particular company failed because the market was not ready for it. It was too early. We had to convince 3 people to buy that particular product, okay? And that was very, very difficult. You need to think about it, that is the market is ready for a particular product or not, which was the biggest thing which we learned. And we burned almost $85 to $90 million as a part of that. And this is $1983, which is, if you look at it now, it's a lot of money, okay? What we learned out of this is you better understand your customer, better understand what you're doing it for whom, okay? After that, we had another startup, which is we did, by the way, they're funded by the same VCs. So you think about it, why they will be fund you, when you fail. The reason is because they saw that what we did from a technology perspective was awesome, okay? The next company was, funded was Crescendo. All our companies, has Italian connections, and because 2 of our founders from Italy and 2 of us, they are from India. So they were like, 4 eyes, you can look at it. Our group is known as MPLS. If you go Google it, you'll find out is Mario, Prem, Luca, and Sony. These are the 4. And we worked together for so many years until I just retired this year after doing 6 companies. First one was failure, and all other 5 really made a big impact and very successful in different areas. Crescendo was very successful, got acquired by Cisco, they didn't pay that much money, but the company became like $14 to $15 billion in revenue in 10 years, okay? It took 10 years to get to that kind of revenue, but was really great to get there, okay? The next company we had, which was right after that, Cisco, that first company was acquired by Cisco. That's where we became part of Cisco. Not Cisco, the food company. Cisco, the networking company. So you can Google it, look at quite a bit about that company. That company decided to fund us multiple times to get into different businesses. So we did the next startup to go into a server business. The funny thing is, for us, we didn't know anything about server. We didn't know anything about the technologies. We didn't know who the competition is. You have to learn all that, okay, as a part of it, to really figure it out what you need to do next. We did. So John Chambers, who was the CEO at that particular time of Cisco, who is now retired also and has his own venture company, told us, this is his exact word, I want you guys to build a kick-ass server. That was the definition given to us. What that really means, if you really analyze that particular part of it, there is tremendous amount of competition. The people who are building product like this is IBM, was HP, and a couple other companies, Dell. They were building the product like this. I want something so you can differentiate with them. At the same time, you need to make sure that I can penetrate into that segment of the market. And that became a very successful product. Even until today, the Cisco is generating about close to $3 billion revenue per year from that particular product itself. Okay, very successful. It's called Unified Computing Systems, UCS is the name of the product. They're still selling. Then we did another one after that. There was a whole wave of going on. Everything is called software-defined network. So we did another company which is called Software-Defined Network, which was the name of the company was in CMA. And that became very successful. Again, Cisco acquired it, and that business is also a couple of $1 billion at this particular point. The last thing which we did was a company called Pensando, which was started in 2016. And that one was supposed to be looking at cloud. And the question is how you can use the CPU for applications, and all other things, can you bring it down to an interface card, which goes inside the server. So that was a lot of technical word I'm using. You don't need to worry about it. But the main gut of that thing is the market for that one was very huge, because everybody was moving in the cloud. Like I was just looking at that. There is says I need a cloud engineer. Somebody put a poster there. Cloud is the companies, all the cloud companies, I'm pretty sure you know about it, is Microsoft, is Amazon is number 1, Microsoft is number 2, Google is number 3, and then there is so many others, IBM, and then obviously Huawei and a lot of Chinese companies, they're doing very well, actually, in that particular space. So that was the product for cloud. We made it very successful, went through ups and downs during that particular journey. And the ups and downs, when I say, is the supply chain problems, which is, I'm pretty sure you heard about it during the COVID time frame. There was a big supply problems, and the lead time for the product from 16, 20 weeks became like 72 weeks. So think about it. Anyway, the company was very successful. We had good customers. We sold it to AMD, which is, I'm pretty sure you heard the name, because of all the way which is going about AI. Is either is AMD or is NVIDIA. Those are the two companies which has built the infrastructure for AI. So that company got sold to them, and I just retired. So that was my journey, but 5 successful, first failure, learned quite a bit from the failure, And the only other thing is I want to tell you is that in every these instances of these startups, you don't need to be that I'm the expert in this particular area and all that kind of thing. But 2 things are very, very important for you. One is, in all these areas, you need to put your best effort, because that's all you can do. Everything else is not in your control. So one is the best effort. Second is very, very important is make sure that you're focused and commitment to really understand your customers and continuously adapt to the customer needs. Not like, okay, I decided to do this, this is what written in my business plan, this is what I'm going to build. It doesn't work that way, because the technology is changing so rapidly that what you think about now, 2 years from now, it may be very different. So you need to make sure that keep that perspective in mind.
So, Prem, I love this. I want to ask a follow-up question to those 2 points you just made, and this idea of being focused and committed to your customers especially. Some of the problems you discuss seem, niche might not be the right word, but very specific and hard to just know about, just to be universally aware. So I'd be curious to hear, how did you discover these problems? How did you make sure you were learning from your customers to know how to solve the problem? Where did the inspiration come from in the first place?
Yeah, it's a very good point, and that is where, if you are doing the first time, you have a little bit of challenge, because you may not have the connection in the industry to meet the right people. So finding the right person in a company is one thing, is you need to figure it out, who is the person for that particular company is a decision maker. If you're doing a consumer product, you need to find out who will be the consumer which you're going to go and get. So what we normally do is we go and find those people. So in our case, majority of this is enterprise or cloud customers. So the first thing which we did in the last company, we went to Microsoft. We said, what are the problems you are facing in this particular area for networking? So we knew the people, they gave us the opportunity to come and talk to them, and we got their feedback. That was because it was established. If you're doing first time, okay, it's very difficult to find the right persons. So a couple of things which you need to look at it. Look for all, the networking is the most important thing you're going to find out in doing anything which you want to do in your life, okay? Because more people you know, the better you are. Because you don't know who works for this particular company, and maybe your friend's father is working in that particular company. Leverage all your resources, what you have. Try to find out, for the companies, you pick it up, these are the 5 companies I need to talk to, where they will be interested in getting my product or whatever it is, right? And you need to make sure you start making contact. Now, the first problem you're going to face is you may not find the right person, but then ask the questions and have the confidence that this is what you want to do. And ask him, if you're not the right person, tell me who's the right person is in the company. It's all that building the chain, to get to the person who's really interested in, and you can tell yourself when the person is asking questions which is relevant to what you're doing. That's the feedback there. So it's the most important thing is to understand your customer, even if you're dreaming something, because that feedback is so important. And every one of the company which we did, we got very good feedback from the customers. Okay, yeah, this makes sense. If you deliver this, we'll buy it.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question, then we're gonna open it up to the audience because nobody wants to hear me talk. But I'm curious to learn a little bit more about this. We'll call it this balance between how important it is to build a really cool technology, but you reference this experience with David, and then a really good business, because it seems to me that none of your businesses would have been successful without great tech, but great tech by itself clearly
not sufficient.
isn't a business.
Yeah.
So was there ever a tension there? Like how do you navigate those waters?
Yeah, and this is a very, very, very important aspect to think about from that point of view. Technology is one piece of it, okay? And technology is not, we used to say is not like wine. When it ages, it gets better, right? It's just the opposite. Technology has a life cycle. Whatever you're thinking of, whatever the technologies is, the technologies which was there in 1980, what is there in 19, what's there in 2000, what's moving is changing, okay? But you have to be smart enough to pick up the right technology wave which is going on at that particular moment. So if I ask the question to you, what is the biggest technology wave which is going on right now at this particular moment? What do you guys think? AI. See? Which is very important. But then sometimes it gets hyped too much. So you need to filter that out. Okay? Because if everybody goes into the same waves, what is the differentiation you're going to produce, whatever you're going to do, right? It's very, very important from that particular angle. So the wave which is going on, whatever idea which you have in your mind related to a particular technologies, is very important to understand from a business point of view. And when I say business point of view, what is the overall market size for that particular technology is. Or simple way, if you're doing a consumer product, say you're doing it for students, what's the student population in the world which will buy that particular product? That's your overall TAM. It does not mean that everybody will buy it. Then you need to narrow it down to say why this particular group of students, they will buy that particular thing. A simple example. That analysis is very, very important because anything which you're doing, you may be spending a lot of money and the return may not be that much. Okay? So you need to think that technologies, these are the challenges in the technologies you have, because if the technologies already exist, somebody may have already done it. So technology challenges, and then business side, how big is that particular thing is it worth making an investment so that I can make that kind of revenue? Okay? It's all, in the end, what is the single objectives you have for any startup or any venture you want to do it, is to make it very successful, right? And definition of successful is varies, but not at any cost. Okay, remember this word. Success not at any cost. Success has to be defined by you with your values, with the standards you want to follow. Because people say, oh, I'm very successful, I start doing the gambling in Las Vegas. If that's the success in your mind, that's definitely not in mine. So, success is very important, and a successful company will come once you think about it. Technology, 4 things is important. Technology is one part of it. The greatest technologies which can solve that problem, be your best effort. People, which is part of the company, which is your team, whatever it is. Third is very important, is the business. Understanding that particular part of the business, who your competition is, who is going to build this particular product. And the 4th thing is very, very important, is everything is related to time. Whatever you do it, there is a window. Like the first company we did was too early for its time. Okay? Because the reason it was too early for its time, that those groups were not integrated inside the company. So the only common person was CIO, and the guy who's doing the voice and who's doing the video, is doing the data. They're different groups. They don't even talk to each other. Why they will buy an integrated product? I mean, you don't think about that from a technology perspective, but from business perspective, it was obvious, from that point of view. So technology, business, timing, and team. Remember, these are very, very important ingredients, which is very, very important. And team is basically, the people in this room and the people you're working with. It's very, very important to pick up the team properly. Okay, I'll stop it here.
Okay, well, let's open it up to you all. Questions you have, and we'll swing all over the place. Let's go 1, 2, 3 really fast. Go ahead.
So, sir, actually, you discussed about.
But just call me Prem, no sir, business. Okay, just want to make sure it's clear.
So, Prem, you discussed about how you entered into a server industry, and when there was already some companies who already developed server. So, how you were able to figure out that what kind of product you can develop in server, and basically like what niche you found out over there and then launch your product?
Very good question, and this is where if you're doing anything which is taking the current product to the next step, okay? Because you're not doing something, not reinventing a concept in that particular sense. So when we were looking at the server, we start studying and says what the other people are doing. What we found out is the CPU was done by Intel, memory is done by Samsung, adapter cards are done by Broadcom, Intel. What they were doing, packaging and power supplies. Just packaging of these things into a server. Operating system comes from Microsoft or Linux, whichever way you look at it. So if you take that thing, that's what we found. He says, okay, what is the value add they're adding? Because the innovation is coming out from Intel and innovation is coming out. So we said, okay, we need to build this from a point of view of differentiate compared to that server. So first thing was, all servers, they don't work separately. So we said, okay, we coming from networking experience, we said we'll integrate networking into the server. That was one difference which we did. Second thing, virtualization was just happening. So we said, we will make sure that it's very friendly to virtualize environment. So that was another thing which we did. Memory requirement was also increasing. So we said, instead of Intel will give you that you can only use 12 slots for the memories, we made it so that it can be 4 times that slot. What it means is you can use the same cheap memory and now filled it up the server compared to using very, very expensive memory DIMMs. Last thing which we did was management. They didn't have figured it out how to manage this as a clusters. Okay, every server you have to go and manage yourself. We said, okay, we will go and provide the application which they can manage this as a group, as an infrastructure. So that was a differentiation. And turned out to be pretty successful. And we got up to the point that we felt so proud that we got IBM out of that business. Think about it. They sold that server business to Lenovo. They're not in that server business anymore. It's funny. This happens once in a while in your lifetime. But nobody can ever think. And funny thing, I'll just tell you one story. IBM was very interested in our technologies. We were actually saying that, look, you understand this market very well. We just have a technologies. Why don't you partner with us and take it? They had their own pride that you don't even know server. Who are you telling us this? And they basically decided not to partner with the technologies which we have. We had a great technologies, and actually it proved later on. It became a couple of $1 billion business for Cisco even today. Anyway, second question.
So on the theme of finding a balance between business and product, right? Hypothetically, right now, if you find yourself in a situation where you have this revolutionary idea, but then you realize that the market's not ready yet, for example, like in your case with David, how would you go about it? I mean, would you just wait for the market to get ready? Would you just abandon the idea, or would you just, go ahead and develop the product anyway?
No, the thing is that if the market is not ready and you're already convinced, you will not be able to put your energy into this one to get there. Okay. So I will say that at that particular moment, see if that idea can be used somewhere else, because the same idea sometimes can be used in different areas. Okay. Depending upon what the idea is in terms of what technologies you have and stuff like that. So I will try to see if we can find, but don't arbitrarily assume that you know what that is. Okay? Because the biggest mistake people make, that I made up my mind and I'm just going to go in that particular directions, okay, without really understanding the market is there or not there. But since you already figured it out, I will say that change is another thing in your life. Okay, when you decided you're not going to do it, accept the change and go forward. Don't look at, see, the thing is that the first company which is we had, I never looked at it that it was a failure, even though it was a failure from the all practical purposes. But we never thought that way. We thought that was a great learning experience for us. Okay, even though it cost so much money, somebody will tell you, oh, you're full of it because you wasted $84 million. When the same VC comes back and fund you, there's something in it. Okay, because they scrutinize so much that they realize what really happened here. So it's very, very important to differentiate. And if you decided that you're going to go do something else, accept the change and go forward. And timing, like I said, is very important. If you can do something which takes 6 months for somebody else to do it, you can do it in 3 months, definitely I think that's your value add compared to anybody else. All right, your question.
So my question had to do with your first company. So how were you able to keep the same VCs? Like, was it through networking, your relationship, or was it just like your ideas?
VCs don't have relationship. Only thing they're looking for, they invest $1, they want $5 back. That's very simple, honest truth in that particular sense. I think what they saw is the technologies which we developed was so good, even at that particular time. And by the way, it got deployed. We deployed in White House, for example. We deployed in Sears Tower. Sears was a big company at that particular time in Chicago. So it did get deployed, some areas, but it was not sufficient enough to, to go and break it into big companies the way we wanted to do it, and it was not that easy. So they saw that this team has a pretty good credential in terms of delivering it, and actually we delivered before time. I mean, we said we're going to do this, but it came out much before that. So they looked at all that, and they decided that whatever we do next, they will be interested in funding it. There's no relationship. Relationship in business is a good thing to have, but it's not one which really help you. What really makes a difference is how good is your product is and what you're differentiating in and how novel it is or new it is, and does it really meet the expectation of your customer.
Great question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I read a quick article about you before this, and I saw that while you were at Cisco, you were also sort of like funded by them to start an outside, like a few outside startups outside of Cisco, and then those were purchased back by Cisco. Is that right?
Yep.
What did you find to be the advantages of working in a smaller startup model that is then acquired rather than working, I guess, directly like on a product team for Cisco, trying to build the same thing? Like, I guess the advantages of working as a startup rather than at a large corporation or under.
Very good question, and this is one thing I wish we would have standardized that model for a lot of large corporations.
Yeah.
To say, if you wanted to get into some new areas, there are only 3 choices you have. Either you do it internally, that's one choice, or you acquired a company from outside which has that particular technologies, or you do the third one, which is very rarely people do it, except that we did 3 times with Cisco. It's called spin-in. Means you work in the same company, but you spin in and build this model. What that really means is that they fund it. There is agreement that they will buy the company back as long as you meet certain criteria. And in our case, the criteria was not the technology. The criteria for them to buy back, you need to generate. If you generate 0 revenue, you get 0 money back, $0. So you need to generate certain revenues, and there is a multiplication factor with that revenue. This is what they're going to pay us with a cap. So for example, one of the companies which we sold it to them, we were generating revenue at that particular time is about almost close to $200 million. And that was also based on the time frame. Means you start today, everything wraps up in 4 years. You delivered in 2 years, and you sell in 2 years. And then after 2 years, you calculate that valuation of your company. Until that particular time, you get 0. There's nothing. So that's a big risk. So it has its advantage, but it has its also disadvantage. And a lot of people not interested in doing it because how do you decide between him, me, or somebody else that I want to do this with? So Cisco only did with us, 4 of us, this MPLS thing, is because they trusted that these people we can count on delivery, and they're not there, just to make money and run away. Another thing which we did very well is we had all our employees. The gap between the CEOs and the employees is very little. Normally, you don't see it in most of these startups. Because our idea was not just making money. Our idea was to create an impact in the industry. That's what, as engineers, we feel very proud of it. And money comes. When you're successful, money will come to you. But creating the impact, which is people can remember, that these guys worked on this one and they're very, very successful and created something, which people will remember long period of time. I hope I answer your.
That was phenomenal. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just have 2 questions about network. I feel like network is really important, as you said. Network is your networks. So like, first of all, how do you find your, teammates? Like, through what kind of network? And second, I heard about, you just said about the people you talk with who work for Google. How you find that network? Do you just email them or like some you know them?
No, it's a good question, and I think if you know somebody, it's an easy access inside, because the person, you find some connection through your friends or somebody's parents or somebody works. I'm pretty sure that if you look around, you will find somebody who works in that particular maybe 1 or 2 or 3 distance apart from you. Look for that. It's very important to know somebody, because then he can give you the right directions and all that kind of thing. And if you're just going cold and visiting some of these companies in that particular sense, then you have to go through it. Will take some time. But if your idea is good, they will pay attention to it. Okay. But then by the time you reach to the right person, so you start with, first thing is you start with somebody you already graduated with. I'm pretty sure there are people which went to school with you or whatever it is. You find out they're working in that particular company and says, I have this idea, I want to do this. Can I get somebody, connected? It's again, that part of networking is very, very important. Now, selecting your partners and all that kind of thing is very, very important. First is, whatever you decide to do, make sure that you treat all your partners fair and square. A lot of startup fails because they say, I will get 33% and the other partner will get 20%. But why? If you're all working together, why not 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 if you have 3 partners? You start with that, and then you share. Well, it says, I'm the CEO, I should get more. Well, it doesn't matter who's the CEO and who's this. At this particular moment when you start, I think you have only one aim. Not the titles for that particular thing. Your aim is to make the company successful. Okay? You pick up the right people who could be the CEO of the company. I mean, among yourselves. You should vote among yourself and decide. And it should be very easy for people. And if you can decide, then get somebody's advice and says, oh, look, we are in a dilemma, help us out. But the trust which you build among your partners is the most important thing. You don't have time to look at it, what he's doing and what the other partner is doing. It's very, very important to make sure you pick up the right people. Most important thing, what we do is you need to make sure you are complement with each other. Means you're very good in engineering, somebody is very good in marketing, somebody is very good in sales, somebody is very good, because that's what you need to build, depending upon what you're doing. Even engineering side, just make sure that you have the right people. And then build. I would like to say that my experience is like to keep the organization as flat as possible up to a certain point, and then grow. Then build the hierarchical structure, whatever it is. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. We got about 10 more minutes, so yeah, the questions you have. Please.
Can you talk about the trust that you have in your team? And obviously that kind of has some sort of emotional attachment to your team and your product. I'm just wondering, has your emotions ever guided the way against a sale or maybe for a sale?
Emotions is, we are all human beings. So we do have, emotions and all that kind of thing. I think the one thing which is I tell people, whenever you're making a decision, you detach yourself from that particular part, that this is my baby or this is this thing. It doesn't matter in life, whatever decisions you're making. Look at from the other side and says, what is the negative of this particular thing is, what is all kind of things which will come to your mind. Because what that does is take the emotions out of the pictures, because the reality is more powerful than the emotions once you find out. And then you have to accept it and then say, fine. And people call it, oh, he tried his best and he failed. I never use that word, by the way. I will always say that he tried his best, gave his best effort, but the environment was not there, to make it to the next step. It's always this positive thinking will help us tremendously. Doesn't matter what you do. Make sense? Okay.
So in your last venture, when you built these DPUs, right? What led you to, try to sell that to a big conglomerate instead of trying to, expand it yourself? Because you had such a unique product. I think when I was going through it, you guys were like the first ones to actually do it, and very recently NVIDIA started doing it. So what was like your incentive to go behind these big conglomerates and then, maybe sell your ideas to them instead of continuing your own
No, the thing is that particularly the Pensando, where we did the DPU, the challenge we had was, see, when you're looking at the business, you're looking at it, okay, who is your customer? So one of our customers was Oracle. Other customer was Microsoft. They were good customers and stuff like that. And they would start deploying it. We ran into the supply chain problems, which is the chips which is we had became 72 weeks lead time compared to now. Any order I'm putting it here and will come in 72 weeks later, you need to have that kind of cash flow. Now, how do you get that cash flow? That means you have to raise more money. So we did the analysis and we found out is that if I raise more money, I dilute more, okay? And sure, you wanted to have control of your own company, but there is no guarantee the supply chain problem will go away. How soon? There was no idea. Your guess would have been as good as my guess, because nobody knew how this pandemic is going to last for and what's the impact is going to be. So we were very practical. We looked at it and says, look, we need to partner with some big company, or some big company should acquire us so that this journey can continue, but at the same time, we don't dilute. In the end, you need to think about people also, not just what the company means really is the people of the company. And we felt this is our last thing which we are doing. We want to make sure it does not fail, because if you don't get the money, which is you're asking for $400, $500 million with $100 million in revenue, I mean, it's not that easy to get, okay? And they will dilute you. So you do a balancing act. And in the end, we thought this will be the right thing for the people. And we decided to take that route. We could have continued ourselves. Actually, John, who was the chairman of our board, he said, no, we have to go public, and we'll take the company public, and the valuation will be $5 billion, okay, compared to what we sold is for $2 billion. Again, in hindsight, we looked at all the factors, and we think we made the right decisions, and even we still think we made the right decision, because knowing all the facts after 2 years of that. It's very important to make decisions, and then analyze it very thoroughly. Decisions are very important in your life. It doesn't matter what you do. Even taking a course, taking a class, whatever you're doing, you need to make sure I'm doing it not because I want to make money, because I want to create an impact. My presence should be known to the industry. My presence should be known to my classmates and all that. Everybody. I mean, you're not doing it just to get the grades, okay? Remember this, very important is, grade is one part of it, which is, we'll be very happy to do it. But when you learn how to create an impact and change somebody's life, or change the life of the community, or help somebody, you feel much prouder than getting a grade in a class. Okay.
Okay, Prem.
You guys are very quiet. I hope I didn't make it too nervous here. I think there is a tremendous opportunity you guys have. And I really want to wish all of you great success. And I want to see each one of you be better than what I have done, at least. That may not be the benchmark, okay? But from that point of view.
Well, so
Sorry.
We've only got a minute or two, a couple minutes left. I love to ask all our founders kind of the same question in conclusion. And so you've had this amazing career as a founder, as an entrepreneur. To be able to tell the world that's what you did, that was your profession. What does it mean to you to be able to identify as a founder? Pride you take in it, fears, concerns. What does it mean to you to be a founder?
Actually, the benefits which you get out of it is that the people, when you say you are the founder, they realize you are in the very early stage when the company started, or the idea came from some of you all together. It creates a impression in their mind, that the person definitely has something, okay? Personally, to me, it doesn't mean anything, to be honest, okay? But to the world, it means a lot. And the reason for me it does not mean anything, because, Anybody could be the founder of the company. If the company is not successful, who cares about that founder or not founder? To me, is what makes it a successful thing is what impact you created, and what technologies which is really making the life of the people better, or society better, or your family better, or your school better, whatever it is you look at it. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but I went to same school. I was in the Boehner Hall, graduating from here in 1977. So I'm just like one of you, no difference. I think just the path which has got the opportunity to go where I am. You all can find better path. It's all you need to continuously look for it. Because if you're not going to look at it, it's not going to come to you.
Let's give Prem a round of applause.
Thank you.